Hey stranger, welcome to the stage of history. If you are part of the fighting game community, you probably know Maximilian, and you may have watched one of his streams. The song that plays at the start, covered by Bl00dy, is the opening to my favorite fighting game of all time, Soul Blade, or Soul Edge in Japan.
Many people may think this series started with the first Soul Calibur on Dreamcast, but it all started by Soul Edge in 1996 in arcades and the same year on console with PlayStation 1. To this day, I don't understand why it didn't leave a mark as strong as games like Tekken 3. It had everything a casual player would want in a fighting game. Not only it had amazing graphics and soundtrack, it had a deep story mode. It even had multiple endings for characters. Today, I want to dive very deep in a fighting game that made my childhood and specify why Soul Blade was and still is one of the best fighting games ever made. I will go through every character's story mode and explain everything else as I go on. Timestamps are in the description if you want to jump into any specific section.
I'm Purix, and this is the ultimate Soul Edge retrospective.
Transcending history and the world, a tale of souls and swords, eternally retold. Usually when you want to explain a fighting game, you immediately talk about how cool the fighting style of a character is. But in Soul Blade, the narrative is so captivating that it deserves to take center stage. You get your final cutscene if you finish the game in arcade mode, just like any other fighting game at the time. But it's the other mode, the Edge Master mode, that really shakes things up when it comes to narrative. The game suddenly dives deep into lore-driven storytelling, something akin to Dark Souls, with movesets, locations, and even costumes becoming important details. The basic premise of the story is pretty simple. There exists a cursed pair of swords known as Soul Edge. Every character in the roster wants this weapon for their own reasons, some to save lives, some for greed, and some for personal motives. But the twist is that these swords aren't what they seem at first. Think of them as the ring from the Lord of the Rings. They possess great power, but using them comes at a price. In Edge Master mode, we follow each character's journey across the world, collecting weapons along the way, until they reach Soul Edge and witness their fate unfold as they pick up these cursed blades. So let's start with none other than the poster boy himself, Heishiro Mitsurugi. Upon selecting him, we see a sneak peek of all the weapons you can unlock with Mitsurugi, a montage that plays the first time you select any character in Edge Master mode. Afterwards, we find ourselves on the world map. This is where you navigate between fights, with each location representing the next chapter in the journey. The game has a low fantasy setting. The world includes real countries with some altered historical events. To continue, we read from a book the game shows us. This text-based storytelling makes up the bulk of the narrative, and while the localization isn't amazing, it has its charms. Each one starts with a biography of our character, from their name and height to their family and fighting style. Our Mitsurugi is a short king who wields a katana named Korofuji. His style is simply listed as Mitsurugi. In later games, his style is called Tenpokusei Ryokai, a form he developed through countless battles. It's essentially his own creation, so I guess that's why they just called it Mitsurugi here. Within the book, we discovered that Mitsurugi was the son of a farmer. He enjoyed his life, but after years of seeing his beloved farm ravaged by war, he grew disillusioned. It's better to raid than to be raided, he said. Mitsurugi studied swordsmanship under a clan lord at the age of 14. In every sense of the word, a child soldier. His attacks during battles made him feared. That's when he got the name Mitsurugi. From its kanji, I believe that translates to heavenly sword. He has been known to mouth through foes as if they were like a field of wheat. Mitsurugi was known for a spectacular battlefield record and had received several commendations as an officer, but military commissions were rejected by him. Eventually, the Yurukami clan, a historical samurai family from the Sengoku period, was left by Mitsurugi, much to their regret. He wanted to pursue a career as a freelance mercenary, seeking only worthy adversaries. During his time at war, he heard of a weapon called Tanegashima, a matchlock rifle. What is this? A firearm? It cannot be so powerful, it looks like a pipe. This is an actual weapon from the Sengoku period, famously used by Oda Nobunaga to fend off the Takeda cavalry, and my history nerd brain loves that the game included that. Mitsurugi's entire drive is to find a weapon more powerful than the rifle, otherwise every war going forward will be decided by tools, not warriors. That's when he hears about the legendary Soul Edge. That's it! This weapon can overpower the firearm. And so Mitsurugi's journey to claim Soul Edge begins. Our first stage is a haunted temple, rumored to be inhabited by demons. Mitsurugi, thrilled by this information, heads for the shrine. There we find our first enemy, the Rock. Let's have a quick summary of how Soul Edge plays. This is a 4-button fighting game with 3 attack buttons and 1 guard button. 1 or square is a fast and weak horizontal attack. Since this is a 3D fighter, this move is useful for catching sidesteps. Through or triangle is a slower, more powerful vertical strike meant to catch crouching opponents. 4 or circle is a kick. Its speed and damage vary depending on the character. 3 or cross is your guard. It's safer than ducking and sidestepping, but weapons in this game have HP just like you. Blocking drains their durability, except for when you block kicks. If it reaches 0, you'll lose your weapon during the round. Some of your moves can also ring out your opponents to end the round instantly. Now, there aren't complex combos in this game, just a few juggle combos and basic strings. The real depth in this game comes from spacing and smart movement. We have a great risk-reward system as the foundation here. I'll explain more as we go on, but this will suffice for now. This big guy is said to be possessed by a demon, and the game conveys that through gameplay. His health regenerates, so we have to defeat him fast. These fights aren't just default arcade matches, they're unique to this mode and usually reflect the story told in the book. Now, these fights are also unfair. If you've noticed, we have to win 2 matches, but can only lose once. Our next opponent in the second round is our doppelganger. After this mirror match, the book pops up again and wraps up what happened. Mitsurugi searches the shrine for Soul Edge. I love how the characters don't know where the sword actually is, or even how it looks. He finds a weapon inside the shrine named Onimaru, the Life Drinker. Again, another gameplay choice that fits the story. You find a cursed sword in a cursed shrine. You can equip the weapons you find throughout the game in the weapons menu. This is one of the defining features of this game. While your default weapon has completely balanced the stats, the ones you find can change your game plan drastically. This new weapon Onimaru deals way more damage than our previous sword, but it drains our HP with each attack, fitting its title, Life Drinker. We reach the pirate fortress Noto Castle. Mitsurugi is tasked with guarding the castle in return for his passage to the continent. There we face the ninja Taki, the bait of Soul Calibur. Taki is here to take back the sword we looted in the previous area, suggesting she has some connection to the shrine we just came from. We have limited time to defeat her. After her defeat, the chief counselor recognizes our efforts and gives us a new sword called Iron Slasher. This new weapon has high strength, meaning it can quickly drain the opponent's weapon durability, making it especially effective against passive and guarding enemies. We then travel to Korea, passing through a temple at the foot of Mount Chi, said to have been rebuilt several times. Here we face Seung Mi-na, a 16-year-old girl with a polearm. Now, I mentioned earlier that these fights usually reflect something in the story, but not all of them do, and this is one of those cases. Here we're forced to win using throws, even though there's no narrative reason behind it. Still, it changes the pace and helps the game avoid feeling repetitive. Throws are a bit too strong in this game. They're hard to break unless you're an AI that can read inputs. Like most fighters, throws counter overly defensive players. Here they also work well as punishes, since they have very short startup frames. Every character has at least 2 of them. Some deal more damage, some side switches, and some can even cause ring outs. To break them, you have to guess which throw the opponent used and match their input exactly. And for some reason, the second throw has a terrible input. The first one is 1+3, that's cross and square. Pretty simple. But the second one is 2+3, cross and triangle. It's hard enough just to perform the throw. To break it, you have to break your hands first. So I recommend mapping this throw to one of your shoulder buttons. Mitsurugi has a high damage throw that side switches, and a slightly weaker one that can cause a ring out. 2 of the stronger throw is enough to take out Seung Mi-na. After her defeat, we hear a rumor about a person searching for a weapon called the Patriot Sword. Soul Edge goes by many names throughout the game, as if people gave it names they wish the sword represented, and I love this detail. Mitsurugi thinks to himself that this Patriot Sword might be Soul Edge, so he sets out to find this mysterious man.
We then travel to China.
There's a canal here that provides a means of transportation for travelers. As we travel on a raft, we're suddenly attacked by a stranger. We avoid a fatal blow but receive a small scratch from the enemy, and it turns out to be poisonous. Our enemy Li Long seems to know us. Presumably, Mitsurugi killed his wife. It's interesting how Namco's fighting game poster boys are all deeply flawed characters. These fights get harder as we progress, and as far as I know, changing the difficulty in the options menu won't affect this mode, unless I'm just too stupid to understand. Here, Li Long doesn't just fight you, he stays on the defensive and parries your attacks, trying to delay the fight as much as he can. We are poisoned after all, and we die if we don't finish him quickly. After this bitter fight, Li Long flings himself into the river, uttering his last words, "Chie." So far, it's unclear whether Mitsurugi actually killed this man's wife, but it's something that stays in your mind until you play as Li Long and find out. It's fascinating how this game pits characters against each other and gives you bits and pieces of their story, encouraging you to play them later. He then loots Li Long's possessions, finding an antidote for the poison and the legendary blade called Kojiro's sword. Kojiro was one of Minamoto Naruto Musashi's rival, said to have slightly longer blade than usual, and that's exactly what this weapon is. It's 50% longer than our normal swords, giving us 50% more reach. For a game so focused on spacing, this sword transforms Mitsurugi into something else. Continuing our pursuit, we reach an ancient fortress in the desert. The man we're following is waiting for us, ever we've been trailing him. Hey you, what do you want from me? Mitsurugi, at a loss of words, just draws his sword to fight. This is Hwang, a hero sent to find the so-called Soul Edge to save his country. You have to defeat him with juggle combos for some reason. As a kid, this was a nightmare. I couldn't even read English, let alone perform a launcher into a combo. After his defeat, we loot a map from him that helped us travel to the Western world. We then find ourselves at the Colosseum inside the secret arena. This stage is a staple for most characters. It doesn't serve much of a narrative purpose, but it's always fun to play. It's basically a gauntlet with different opponents for each character. For Mitsurugi, it's a tough one. You have to fight 5 opponents in a row. Your health regenerates between fights, but only a limited amount. Since you have infinite time, it's better not to rush and play more carefully. As much as I liked Kojiro's sword, I used Iron Slasher here to play more defensively. I know I just said that this stage doesn't serve a narrative purpose, but it's interesting that we have 2 secret opponents and the last one is Li Long, as if he came back to exact revenge again. As a reward, we gain Water Moon, an ultra defensive weapon that regenerates your health mid-battle. The defense stat determines how much damage you take when you're not blocking, so this weapon is perfect if you're trash at the game. We then head to Germany, where Castle Ostrinusburg is under siege by Marquis Andre's forces, said to hold a stash of weapons from all over the world. Maybe Soul Edge is among them. So we join the Marquis as a mercenary. While searching the castle, Mitsurugi is attacked by another hired sword from the enemy's side, Siegfried Stauffen. It's only 15 seconds before the fort collapses. We have to take him down fast. This is a tough fight because Mitsurugi isn't a powerhouse when it comes to damage. After the fight, Mitsurugi lectures Siegfried. You have great skill, but you cannot close in to finish. He then leaves Siegfried behind to venture into the burning castle. Instead of Soul Edge, he finds the two-handed sword, a weapon that appears throughout the series, even in Soul Calibur 6. It has no gimmicks but boasts ridiculously high stats, making our first weapon completely obsolete. Next up is the Secret Treasury, a money pit built by a weapons merchant named Bl00dy to store his fortune. Here we have to fight Waldo. He's kind of a sub-boss in the game. You'll most likely face him before the final boss. But before diving into the battle, I should mention the level's aesthetics. It's gorgeous for a PS1 game. Flags swinging in the wind, debris falling to the ground. It's truly a spectacle, and it's true for nearly every stage. But it also comes at a cost, and maybe the game's biggest flaw. The game is locked to 30 frames per second. Having 60 FPS in a fighting game is a big deal. I don't know how much backgrounds can eat up performance, but Tekken 3 with its console-defining visuals ran at 60, largely because its backgrounds were just the skyboxes. Anyway, onto the battle. Here, no amount of regular attacks will damage Waldo. To damage him, you have to use a mechanic called Critical Edge, performed by pressing all 3 attack buttons at once. It consumes 1/3 of your weapon's durability and trigger a combo string, which you can extend by inputting additional buttons. Quick tip here, to extend a combo you need to press the input right before the current string ends. After ripping Waldo open, Mitsurugi searches the vault for Soul Edge and finds a note addressed to Bl00dy. The pirate had captured Soul Edge and kept it to himself. We also find the weapon Falx in the treasury. Its stats are decent, but its real strength is in its weight, the only stat that's actually better than lower. A lighter weapon makes your attacks faster, or to get a bit nerdy, it sends your frame data through the roof. Following the notes, we travel to Spain and arrive at the pirate ship Adrian, owned by the infamous Cervantes. There stood a man holding 2 swords that pulsed as if alive. Ah, I've been waiting for you. I want your hot soul for my blades. That's kind of an erotic way of putting it. And I have waited long enough for those hot blades. Okay, that's not PG anymore. This is our final battle. Cervantes is tough. He has tons of mix-ups and strings that look nearly identical, making him difficult to defend against if you're not familiar with his moveset. Upon defeat, he rises again. His flesh turns into fire, his head melts into a skull, and the world shifts into a hellish environment. Is this the fate of anyone who wields these swords? Soul Edge is the final boss of the game. He shares his moveset with Cervantes, but he has some extra moves as well, like teleporting directly above you to perform a skull splitter. After his defeat, the book opens again to reveal the fate of Mitsurugi. He holds Soul Edge in his hands, then raises it to the heavens and shatters it in one slash. Then, in disgust, he turns his back and walks away. This could not be the sword of legends. This sword is evil. Mitsurugi continues his search for a weapon stronger than the rifle somewhere else. If you've played the later Soul Calibur games, you'll see him having the same mindset. My favorite is in Soul Calibur 4 when he tells all final goal, the final boss, weapons are just tools. True strength lies within. At the credits, we see all the weapons we found throughout our journey, but right at the end we see a sword that we don't own yet. This is the ultimate weapon for our character, and obtaining it is frustrating. After you finish Cervantes, the ultimate weapon can be found in a different country adjacent to Spain. It's random. There are 2 possible locations here, and the weapon could appear in either. Every time you lose the fight, the weapon moves again. So my suggestion is to save before the fight and reload if you lose. But the ultimate weapons are absolutely worth it. They usually change your whole playstyle. Mitsurugi's ultimate weapon is Murasame. Not only does it have extreme attack power, it also makes guarding almost meaningless, because it deals 95% damage even on block. Now, the ending we saw in Edge Master mode was actually the original arcade version. The one we see in arcade mode is console exclusive. It's usually the same story from the slideshow, just animated in engine, but with better conclusion. As for Mitsurugi, after destroying Soul Edge, we face one final opponent, Tanagashima. We fight the rifle itself in first-person mode, dodging bullets and charging toward the gunman. There are 2 conclusions depending on whether we win or lose. If we lose, we see a disappointed Mitsurugi thinking he still needs to find a weapon stronger than the Tanagashima. But if we win, he finally understands. It doesn't matter how powerful the weapon is, he needs to become stronger. His training has just begun. Finally, let's talk about Mitsurugi's design. Every character in this game has 3 costumes, one which was added in the console release through a fan contest. His alternate costume has him heavily armored, clean-shaven and with tightly tied hair, likely from the time he served the Yurokami clan. His main costume is more rugged, with a shaggy hair and unkempt beard, and also a vibrant blue color palette. More of a sword for hire than a disciplined samurai. I would have said it was inspired by Vagabond, but Soul Edge predates that manga by 2 years. It's such a shame that his main costume wasn't built upon in later games. They usually reference the alternate one instead. The third costume isn't anything to write home about, just some green clothes and a chubbier frame, but it's still a good addition for variety and is actually closer to Sengoku period in terms of historical accuracy. Next up, we have Siegfried, a 5'1" 16-year-old who wields a Zweihander. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know who is the most miserable fighting game character ever created is, but Siegfried is definitely up there. Siegfried had a father known as the Gentle Knight, a kind man who taught him swordmanship. But one day his father left on a crusade, leaving Siegfried and his mother Margaret behind. Without his father's guidance, Siegfried fell into bad company and started committing crimes. He grew more powerful every day until he formed his own band of thieves known as Schwarzwind or Blackwind. The game doesn't elaborate much about this group, but there are comic books and light novels that do. A kind soul on Tumblr even translated parts of them, along with concept arts from the official Soul Edge arts book. Unfortunately, most of that material is still in Japanese, but I'll link her Tumblr account in the description. Siegfried then launched his twisted master plan, hunting down knights who deserted the crusade and looting their armor and valuables. That night, as a war-weary group approached, the thieves sprang their ambush. They defeated the knights all too easily.
I never had such an easy victory.
Siegfried killed the commander himself with his proud Zweihander. He held the commander's decapitated head up high in triumph, but as the moonlight shone down, he let out a horrified scream. In his hand was the head of his father, Frederick. Yelling in grief and fear, he fled into the forest. He plunged deeper into insanity, convincing himself that someone else had killed his father, and he became determined to find and avenge his father's death. All of this done by a 16-year-old. This boy is a mess. He basically lives in Silent Hill. Hell, he even looks like James Sunderland. And somehow he convinces himself that he needs Soul Edge. Not because he knows he's responsible, but because he's chasing the idea of some skilled, terrifying swordman killed his father and Soul Edge can defeat him. Man, what a tragic backstory. We begin his quest at Ostreinsborg Castle. And what do you know? We fight Mitsurugi here. That's one of the smartest things about Soul Edge's storytelling. Well, we fought Siegfried in the middle of Mitsurugi's journey. For Siegfried, this moment is his very first battle. It makes the world feel alive, like other characters don't just stop existing because you picked someone else. Just like before, this castle is rumored to hold many weapons. Siegfried, thinking Soul Edge might be among them, gets himself hired by Estefan, the owner of the castle, just to steal it when the opportunity comes. That's when he bumps into Mitsurugi, who's looking for the same thing. Siegfried is a slow character, but he has incredible reach and high-impact attacks that makes him great for ring-outs. After the fight, Siegfried enters the blazing castle, kills his commander Estefan, and takes his sword Greenblade. Believing he's finally found Soul Edge, he holds it up and says, "Grants me invincible power." But as we know, this isn't Soul Edge. Disappointed and anxious, he runs into the forest crying out, "Father! Father!" Siegfried then travels to Greece. He reaches a temple built by the blacksmith god Hephaestus. He meets a girl named Sophitia. She was the champion of the gods. "You're seeking the evil sword, aren't you? That sword is too dangerous for you. Let me help." Given how Siegfried has behaved so far, we know he isn't looking for help. He just wants to kill and loot people. I equipped the newly acquired, or should I say stolen, Greenblade, which has amazing attack power but drains your HP. This is an unfair fight. We have to defeat two Sophitias, one who regenerates health as if the Greek gods are helping her, and also our own doppelganger. After the fight, Siegfried calls out to the gods, "I defeated your little girl. Now give me the invincible sword." But the gods remain silent. So he lays waste to the shrine. Oh boy, this kid needs to be stopped. In the rubble, he finds another weapon, Atlas' sword. I guess the gods were mocking him because this sword not only slows your startup frames due to its weight, it also deals way less damage. Equip this only if you're terrible at the game and want to regenerate a scam amount of health mid-fight. He then reached the Colosseum for another gauntlet, ending with another fight against Sophitia, this time without her gauzy armor and blonde hair. Coincidence? Our reward is the Flamberge, a fast sword with high attack power. Next, we head into the desert and find out Rock has been following us from the arena, hunting the weapon we won. Here the desert drains our HP like poison, so we have to defeat him quickly. After the battle, Siegfried kills yet another man, the Rock. Expired. Siegfried then travels to Japan, reaching Noto Castle, now in the hands of pirates. Obviously, our good boy Z gets hired by the pirates to guard the place, and just like Mitsurugi, we face the goober bait herself, Taki. And just like before, we have to defeat her within a time limit, but this time it's only 12 seconds. I love how we experience the same encounters through different characters. It makes you eager to find out how they unfold from each perspective. After her defeats, we're rewarded with the 7-branch sword and a passage to continue our journey. This new sword has only 1 point in power, so it's useless, even though it can recover its durability gauge. We then travel through the canal again. Siegfried has heard a weapon thief is stealing swords from travelers, so he goes to investigate, and of course we run into Li Long. "Surrender that sword! You'll get my sword in your gullet!" After defeating Li Long with grabs, he runs away, just like before. Upon looting his stash of stolen swords, Siegfried finds a large Chinese blade called Heartsteel Blade. Just like Mitsurugi's 6th weapon, this one has better stats in every way than your starting sword. Once again, we reach Verchi's secret treasury and face Voldo. We learn that Siegfried once tried to break into this place with his band of thieves and failed. This time isn't much better. He gets wounded by traps just trying to get inside. With all that heavy armor, he doesn't exactly look agile enough to dodge traps. We start this battle already injured with almost no health. And if that wasn't enough, we have to beat Voldo twice. After the fight, Siegfried interrogates Voldo for Soul Edge's location, until he dies without revealing anything. Then he searches the vault and finds the same note we found with Mitsurugi, revealing Soul Edge's location along with a new weapon, Claymore. I don't know why Claymores are always good in games, and this one's no different. With a weight of just 1, it makes Siegfried surprisingly fast and incredibly fun to use. We then travel to Spain to face Cervantes and obtain Soul Edge. After defeating him, we witness one of the most tragic endings in any fighting game. We read how Soul Edge plunges its claws into Siegfried's hand and see him transform into a monster, screaming as he loses his sanity. A dark night stands under the full moon ready to plunge the world into chaos. Siegfried doesn't get a good ending. His ultimate weapon is in fact Soul Edge itself. It looks disturbingly alive even without the iconic eye it gets in later games. Fun fact, only 3 Soul Edge weapons exist in the game. One we saw with Cervantes and one we just gained with Siegfried. Can you guess which other character gets a 3rd variant? Finishing arcade mode gives us an even darker depiction of this ending. Seeing him scream as he turns into a monster was nightmare fuel for me as a kid. I remember thinking that objects could stick to my hand and turn me into something else. But we can't change the ending. There's a brief moment in all endings where the cinematic black borders disappear, and if you input a specific button sequence at that point, you can change the fate of these characters. It's a hidden feature that even some longtime fans may not know
about.
As for Siegfried, the alternate ending shows him destroying Soul Edge, then plunging his sword into a mountain, lost and unsure of what to do next. An unknown fate, but a far better one for sure. Now let's talk about his costumes. Siegfried actually has 4, because his prototype Nightmare form is unlockable as a costume with the same moveset. His default outfit shows him in a more grounded, nicely form. His alternate, in red armor and a helmet, looks like it's been painted in blood. His third costume is pretty generic. In the art book they stated that it makes him look like a good guy. But the prototype Nightmare design is so surreal. It captures that low fidelity PS1 feel that shows something you can't clearly make out. Siegfried is such a tragic character, and it's always exciting to see what direction they take him in with every new entry. But next up, we have Li Long. Let's finally see what the deal is with him and his dead wife. This 5'5", 24-year-old man, were all these guys younger than me, is an assassin sent by the Chinese emperor to kill the leader of Japanese Waku pirates, seafaring raiders who plagued the coast of China and Korea during the 13th to 16th centuries, and also to find a valiant sword Soul Edge. But he didn't care about some sword, he just wanted to kill the Japanese because of the war. So not only did he target the Waku leader, he also went beyond the limit of his mission to assassinate lords and such. But at some point, he failed and got injured. That's when Chie finds him, the daughter of an innkeeper who lost her ability to speak when her mother died, which the game later forgets for some reason. She tends to his wounds and they begin to fall in love. What could possibly go wrong? When Li Long was away, a fight breaks out in the end and Chie presumably dies. When Li Long asks around about who did this, they say it was a wandering swordsman. Eyewitnesses for some reason thought it could be the famous Heishiro Mitsurugi. So what did our assassin boy do? He went on a spree, hunting every wandering swordsman until he finds our killer, including Mitsurugi. But things got interesting when he heard that Mitsurugi is also looking for Soul Edge. So he thinks to himself, if he finds it first, Mitsurugi will come directly to him. The first section of his story is about hunting down Mitsurugi, so we basically replay the same stages from his route, starting with the Demon Shrine. Li Long thought he could ambush Mitsurugi there, but he didn't find him. Instead, he faced the rock. Now, you may have thought Li Long uses nunchucks, and he actually does in the other versions, but the version I'm playing is the European one. Nunchucks were considered illegal in Europe, so they replaced them with 3-section staff. It's very stupid but funny at the same time. Li Long is a pretty fast character with some long strings. He even has fireball motions, both forward and backward. His monkey magic move is a standout. Speaking of fireball motions, Mitsurugi also had one, but it performed more like how the Mishima's misstep works in Tekken. After defeating the possessed rock, Li Long steals his weapon and modifies it into a new weapon called Snake Wind. This weapon basically deals cheap damage, a perfect fit for a fast character. To follow Mitsurugi, he heads to Noto Castle, the second stage we played in Mitsurugi's path. And boy oh boy, instead of Toki we have Siegfried here. So basically with each character events unfold differently. Here Siegfried didn't fight Mitsurugi at Otsteinesport Castle or Li Long at the canal, but he did appear at one of the stages he eventually reached in his own adventure. Just like all the Noto Castle stages, this one is also timed. So we have to defeat this cringe boy before the guards find us. After the fight, Li Long gains the weapon Titan, which is basically a hammer nunchuck, and continues the search for Mitsurugi. Titan is an overall good weapon with high stats and no specific gimmick. Now we're at the famous canal where we face Li Long with both Mitsurugi and Siegfried. Here Li Long mentions that he doesn't know what Mitsurugi looks like. That way he justifies hunting every swordsman traveling on this river. So he fights 3 women? Li Long fought several swordsmen, but Mitsurugi didn't show up. My dude, you know Mitsurugi is a guy, right? One of these girls doesn't even wield a sword. Anyway, he then crafts another weapon from the parts he looted from 3 not swordsmen called Phoenix. Next up, we hit the desert. We find someone who matches Mitsurugi's height, but he's clearly not Japanese. So you do know how he should look. This time we have to fight Hwang, and just like in Mitsurugi's fight with him, we need to defeat Hwang with juggle combos. After the fight, Li Long loads his weapon and presumably crafts another one from it. This time the Steel Dragon. This big black staff has a high strength and can destroy enemy weapons like butter. Next up, the good old Colosseum. He hears that a Japanese swordsman is competing, so he rushes in to enter. This is one of the hardest fights in the game. We have to survive 6 matches and all of them are against opponents we've faced so far. It feels like they're taking revenge for their stolen weapons being turned into staves. I mean, they all have different weapons here. At the end, we finally face Mitsurugi with the cursed sword he stole at the shrine. When Li Long defeats him, he starts interrogating. Confess, you killed the daughter of an innkeeper. You are mistaken. I would never kill a woman. Okay, Okay, so Mitsurugi isn't a psychopath, but he's a bit of a sexist. Li Long immediately believes him and thinks to himself, if not him,
Then who killed Captain Alex? Who?
For some reason, Li Long is now focused solely on gaining Soul Edge. His anger and thirst for revenge are clearly getting to him. Our reward for this fight is White Tiger, a nunchuck with maces at both ends. It's a bit on the heavy side, but it has a bite. We then head to the secret treasury in Italy to fight Voldo, but strangely enough, we also face Taki as our second opponent. I guess we'll find out why this happened when we play as Voldo. After the fight, Li Long picks up Versus' famous note and gains a new weapon called Ashura. This weapon is fast and high damage, though it's bad at breaking enemy weapons. We then head to Spain to obtain Soul Edge. We fight Cervantes like before, but something happens here that doesn't happen with any other character.
Li Long collapses mid-win pose. He was presumably injured during the fight without realizing it.
I mean, he was becoming reckless. He also had longer matches than the other two characters we played so far. Before he can reach Soul Edge and hold it in his hands, poor Li Long dies, calling out his dead wife's name as his final words. Then we're hit with a twist. Chie actually survived. She was saved by some wandering monk. It's a pretty lame twist, but it somehow makes everything feel even more sad. She waited a month for Li Long to return, but he never did. But their love did leave behind a child. I guess I have to censor that part. Lastly, Li Long's final weapon is called Twin Thunder. It's simply a powerful and a fast nunchuck. Now, in the arcade ending, things are more interesting. The default ending is the same, but the alternate one is even more tragic in my opinion. After mashing a square and triangle, Li Long succeeds to crawl towards Soul Edge, and then he hallucinates that Chie is alive. At first, it feels like some cringe power of love moment, but as he hugs the ghostly figure, he realizes that he's actually holding Soul Edge. Then he makes his way home with that cursed blade. Who knows what will happen when he finds Chie with that sword in his hand. Li Long's costumes are interesting. His main features baggy clothing with partial armor. The alternate shows him bald with casual attire. In my mind, the main version represents his time as an active assassin, while the bald one was for when he settled down with Chie. His third just looks good. In the art book, it stated that he was popular in Japan because of his tragic settings, and he was also popular with Kung Fu fans. I wonder what happened that they replaced him with Maxi later on. Next up, let's tackle Hwang. Finally, someone who's not a short king and still younger than me. Hwang was a touchy subject at the time. When the arcade version was coming out in Korea, having a samurai like Mitsurugi as the face of the game didn't set well due to historical tensions, so they swapped Mitsurugi's model with him. Hwang lost his parents at a young age. They were people with a strong sense of justice. The game doesn't elaborate further, but somehow that led to their downfall. Hwang grew up hardened, and to learn how to fight, he joined Songdejong. Hwang quickly became the best student in Songdejong and received private lessons from his master Sung Han-myung. His master was considering adopting him as a son. He already had a talented child, but the problem was that it was a she. War broke out between Japan and Korea, and Hwang was the first to volunteer to defend his country. Around that time, rumors began circulating about a legendary Patriot sword in the West. Believing it might help in the war, Hwang set off to find it by government orders. Our first stage is the famous Noto Castle. Hwang was ordered to investigate the pirates there, but he got caught by none other than Mitsurugi. As I said, Hwang was originally a replacement for Mitsurugi in the arcade version. He shares many of his moveset and is basically a clone, though he got his own kicks and a few unique strings later on. I like Mitsurugi, so I automatically like Hwang as well. After defeating Mitsurugi, Hwang steals his sword and escapes the castle. I like how it's called Nippon Blade, which basically means Japanese blade. We then travel back to our dojon before leaving for the west, where we encounter our master Sung Han-myung for one final lesson. Han-myung is a secret character and a clone of Hwang, so he's a clone of a clone. We have to survive his attacks for 20 seconds. Well done. I've taught you all I know. Take my sword and carry on the long blade technique. We gain the sword Mountain Breaker. It has low defense but makes up for it with its light weight. We then travel to the canal, and you guessed it, we face our favorite assassin, Li Long. And being the good boy he is, Li Long poisons us before the battle starts. We have to defeat him using only throws. Hwang's 1+3 throw is the same as Mitsurugi's, but his 2+3 throw is one of the best grabs in fighting game history. After the fight, we pick up the sword Thunderous Fire and move on. It's a well-rounded weapon. Next, we head north to the desert, the same place where we usually fight Hwang in other character stories. Here, Seung Mi-na, our master's daughter, finally appears. She's also searching for Soul Edge and has been secretly following us. Listen to me. me. Go back to your father. Never! I will never go back without the Patriot Sword. Since we're not enemies, we don't have to defeat Seung Mi-na by slashing her down. Instead, we have to break her weapons. As I mentioned before, weapons have durability, which determines how many attacks they can take before breaking. When a character is disarmed, they enter a universal unarmed moveset. You can't guard effectively in this mode, and your attacks behave like kicks in weapon mode. It's a shame this mechanic didn't return in later games. After defeating Seung Mi-na, she returns home and we continue our journey to the Colosseum. We face 4 enemies, 2 familiar, 2 new ones. The fight gets ugly, especially with Mitsurugi using Kojiro's sword. You're basically the same character, only he has longer range. So to beat him, I had to break his weapon. Our reward is the Falcon, a heavy weapon with extremely high stats. We then travel to Greece and hear directly from the gods. You, the warrior searching for the evil sword Soul Edge, survive my test and prove your worth. You're then pitted against Sophitia, the girl who received an oracle from Hephaestus. This is one of the hardest fights in the game. We have to defeat 3 opponents using juggle combos, and 2 of them even regenerate health very quickly. I just couldn't consistently land juggles with the Falcon due to its low startup frames, so I changed my weapon and tried again until I won. We're rewarded with the Sword of Dawn by Hephaestus himself. Holding it gives us the sense that we must destroy Soul Edge. The weapon itself has regenerating health properties, but otherwise it's pretty weak. Next up, the Money Pit with our friend Waldo. Thankfully, there's no poison or low HP gimmicks this time, but we do have to survive 3 different Waldos with very different weapons. After the fight, we get the location of Soul Edge and a new weapon made from solid gold, Midas Blade. Solid gold is a terrible material for swords. It's way too soft. Anyway, it's a high-power weapon and a good pick for our final battle. We fight and defeat Cervantes and get our ending. Upon reaching Soul Edge, Hwang realizes how evil the sword is and returns home without it. He left young and returned a man, then he sets out to fight in war between Korea and Japan. To be honest, it's an underwhelming ending, maybe because it was a last-minute addition to the arcade version, but the console version, that's way more interesting. Before I show you the ending, take a look at his ultimate weapon, Phantom. It's a hilt with a hidden blade. If you thought Kojiro's sword was long, take a look at this. Totally broken, but creative as hell for a fighting game. Now on to the ending. Hwang acknowledges how evil the sword is, but also knows his power. Thinking he can control it, he brings it back home. When he enters his dojang, he appears weak. One of his friends rushes in to help, and Hwang strikes him down while staring at the screen, completely possessed. The valiant hero who wanted to save his country may now be the one to doom it. Such a tragic ending. In the alternate ending, he realizes that the sword can't help him at all and throws it away. When he returns home, his master is happy to see him and finally says he wants to adopt him, but Hwang refuses, saying he's not ready and still needs to protect his country. We then see him awkwardly raising the Phantom Blade I equipped him with in the air, a much better conclusion than the arcade version. His costumes are pretty solid. The main one feels like his day-to-day gear, while the alternate looks like training attire. The shoulder armor makes no functional sense when his chest is exposed, but it does look cool. His third costume is okay, but I'm not a fan of the silhouette. It makes him look too bulky. It actually looks way better in the concept art. I also read that he has a dragon tattoo beneath the bandages that we never get to see. I went and checked in Soul Calibur 6, but unfortunately it wasn't there. Next up, let's play as Seung Mi-na, daughter of Seung Myung. Having been born into a strict family of martial arts teachers, Mi-na grew up surrounded by weapons. She has excellent knowledge of martial arts, and her horse sword technique is superior even to her father's. However, because of her quote-unquote cute looks, she was teased by the neighborhood boys and treated like a girl. There were a lot of beaten boys in Mi-na's neighborhood. The thing with Mi-na is that her father wants an obedience lady, but Mi-na is not the one to obey anyone. Just like Hwang's story, we entered the war period in Korea, but unlike Hwang, Mi-na couldn't enter the military to help defend her country. But she heard about the Patriot sword Soul Edge and thought the only way she could help was to obtain it. So she decided to secretly follow Hwang on his journey to find Soul Edge. But she was discovered by her father while packing her things. Her father tells her, "What if it was a scheme and Soul Edge is not what you think? You old fart, you could have tried stopping Hwang as well." But of course Mi-na doesn't listen and goes anyway. Playing as Mitsurugi, we passed an old temple where we fought Seung Mi-na. That's exactly where we start our journey. We have limited time to defeat him. She's been running away from her father and his students, and now she's resting at this temple for a bit. That's when she encounters Mitsurugi. After the fight, she escapes before her father finds her. Our next stop is the Shrine of Confined Demons, where we usually encounter the Rock. Mi-na heard that a weapon capable of manipulating the human spirit rests here. She thought maybe this could be Soul Edge. Upon entering the shrine, we encounter Rock as expected. We have to defeat Rock 3 times in a row as he regenerates health. A tough fight, but Seung Mi-na isn't a weak character. Her 222 string can basically one-shot Rock because of his low defense weapon. Inside the shrine, we find the Tiger Fang. Just like the weapon Mitsurugi found here, it drains HP while attacking. I like how the game sticks with the cursed weapon theme for everything we loot here. Next up, Seung Mi-na sneaks into Noto Castle. And like always, Taki attacks us to take back the weapon we stole from the shrine. Go away, it's mine now. Man, this girl is a bully. Just like all the fights here, we have limited time. Taki is a terrible matchup for us because of her speed, so I spammed 1-1-1s to have a better chance. After her defeat, Mi-na steals a long-handled sword from the castle and jumps on ship to China. This weapon is fast, but it has 0 redeeming qualities. Mi-na then boards a raft. You know the drill, Li Long should appear now. I have to point out something. This game doesn't usually give you the weapon you need for the next stage, and here is the worst example of that. We have to defeat Li Long with grabs. The game gave us a low damage fast attacking weapon, but the weight of the weapon doesn't affect the grab animation. So if we bring the long-handled sword, we just handicapped ourselves here. After defeating Li Long, he apologizes and gives us a weapon? He usually just jumps in the river, but okay. Our new weapon is Nagamaki. It's by far our best polearm. We then finally catch up with Hwang in the desert. Please go home, your father must be worried. No, I will never go back until I find the Patriot Sword. Just like before, we have to disarm the opponent. Fighting Hwang like this made me realize how many of their kicks are similar. They even both have the back forward 4 kick, high hoops, which is a terrible move. It's such a clever way of showing they both trained under the same master. Speaking of moves, Seung Mi-na has a beefy command list. She has combinations that most characters don't have, although many of her moves are unsafe, some even on hit. Yet I still don't mind her fighting style because of how different she feels. After the fight, Hwang acknowledges Mi-na's power and gives up. Continue your search. I'll rest here a while. Hwang is such a humble man. Next up, Eurydice Shrine, where we usually fight Sophitia. Just like Hwang, she also finds God here. You are a strong-willed woman. Defeat her and you will receive the sword. And suddenly, Sophitia, emotional goddess, appears to fight us. Just like most shenanigan fights in this temple, we have to fight Sophitia more than once, and she regenerates in 2 of them. After the fight, the god gives us the divine spear halberd. Well, halberds are technically not spears. Anyway, the gods tell us take this weapon and destroy the evil sword. It's pretty funny because on the previous page he scammed us that he will give us the sword. Next is Germany, and the 2 16-year-old bullies with weapons larger than their size finally meet. No one may pass, not even a little girl like you. Little girl? I'll show you who's a little girl. Ah, kids these days. We have to defeat Siegfried in 22 seconds. After his defeat, Mi-na searches the castle and finds Morning Star. I'm pretty sure that's not exactly a Morning Star, but who cares at this point? It's a high defense weapon. Next up is the money pit with Waldo. And unlucky us, Mi-na got injured between all the traps and she has no health. The best option here is to perform a ring out because the arena itself is small this time. After Waldo expires, we get Versus Nose and the Sickle Spear. This Sickle Spear is a fast weapon with high defense and miserable attack power. Lastly, we travel to Spain. After defeating Cervantes, she tried to pick up Soul Edge and bring it back home, but it was too heavy and made her fall to the ground. Then she thinks to herself, this could not be the sword of salvation. This sword took the soul of this fighter and made him a demon. She abandoned the swords and came back home. She was expecting a scolding, but her father welcomed her with a smile. Seung Mi-na is basically Siegfried in reverse. Instead of a psychopathic demon baby, she's just a good kid. Her ultimate weapon is the spiked mace, which is not a mace for sure, and the blade in the middle is useless. Anyway, it's a good weapon that recovers durability over time. Her arcade endings lean even more into lighthearted jokes. It basically continues from when she reaches home. Her father thinks she just slacked off when she ran away, and when she explains that she was fighting this Soul Edge guy, he performs a vertical attack. The execution here is very neat. You should perform a sidestep by pushing down up to dodge his attack. If you fail, he says you haven't become an accomplished fighter, then continues teaching you in hopes of one day replacing him. If you succeed, he recognizes your skills. And now you should marry Hwang? so he can adopt them as a son? Okay, first off, shouldn't this happen in the other ending? And more importantly, there's a 9-year age gap, and she's not even 18 yet. Remember when I said Seung Mi-na is Siegfried in reverse? I guess that extends to their fathers as well. Luckily, she runs away again with a letter stating she's not physically and spiritually ready yet. That only leaves her costumes, and to be honest, as iconic as they look, they're nothing special in my opinion. I like her third costume the most. It has an odd color palette with the dominant pink and the red-green contrast, but overall, she has a sharp silhouette because of her hair shape, which makes her recognizable. So far, I covered half the roster and we faced them several times in Edge Master mode. I guess by now you would be familiar with the setting and how these characters are scattered throughout the map. It really makes the game feel more alive and makes every encounter just as meaningful. Playing in any other order may even change your perspective on these characters. I wish more fighting games would do that with their roster, and that's the brilliance of this game. This concludes the first part of the Ultimate Soul Edge retrospective. If you've stayed with me this far, I sincerely thank you. Please consider supporting the channel with a like or a subscribe. Comments are appreciated as well. I'll see you in the next part, where we will cover the remaining 5 characters and the brief history of the game's development. I also want to thank the Reddit community for encouraging me to make this video. I'm PuriX, and I still don't know how to finish my videos.